Trav.
All right. Oh, now he's moving, but he's blurry now. And we can't hear him. Say something, Cade.
Yeah, I can't hear you anything.
Nothing. And like, buy a new camera. Yeah, I was all debating, like, should I set up, my Canon SLR, rig?
Oh, okay. Can't see Travis either. Can you hear or see Alex?
Yeah. I can see and hear you.
All right, cool. I can hear you, but not see you on stream.
Yeah. His little eyeball crossed out. There. They should see Travis now.
Yep, Travis is there.
And we have annoying feedback noise.
Feedback.
There's old doll. That killed it.
Maybe this is his mini fridge. Yeah.
I didn't realize. Wait.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Fridge, you're asleep.
I can hear you like this.
You can hear me like this.
Yeah. Okay. Now I can hear you.
Is it coming through a little bit better?
Could be a little bit louder, but you're soft.
Coming through a little bit louder. Let me adjust some gain. All right, did that do anything?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. All right, sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody that's joining us when we first started. Gotta love technology. Welcome back to Axing Questions, the completely creative name for a little talk show where we talk about Boohurt. Joining us this week, we have Laurance Lagnese.
Hi.
And we're gonna talk to him about Boohurt International stuff, some off stuff, and all of that. So to take it away, Laurance, for everybody that doesn't know who you are, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Laurance Lagnese. I have been involved in the sport since around 2011, 2012, when James Jonathan ran around trying to get everybody hooked into the sport. Been involved with it since that point. At this point in time, I am the event organizer for Medieval Combat USA and the member of the board of directors. I am also on the Boohurt International, which is the inheritor of Boohurt League. We are the new organization that took on the role of Boohurt League, and it was handed to us. I am I'm the secretary of that organization, and on the council for that, I am also one of the authenticity officers at international level. I am the ex-head of authenticity for HMBIA. Additionally, I am, I think Joe would say I'm a senior marshal in the USA. Joseph Cadu is the senior marshal for USA. He is the head marshal of USA. But I believe he would consider me one of the senior marshals in the USA under him. But that's me in the Boohurt sense of the world. So,
yeah, definitely involved.
It's impressive. Sorry, you had me a little tongue-tied.
No.
Yeah.
Also, event organizer for Palmetto Nights, one of the founding members of Palmetto Nights. That too, but that's just a club. So, But either way,
Well, how did you get started with everything?
so I got involved with hitting people with sword-like objects in the early 2000s. A buddy came back from Afghanistan. His wife left him, and he asked me to come with him because there was this people in a park down the road who hit each other with clubs, and he wanted to try it out. So I went with him, and we hit people with clubs. And then years later, that was the SCA. And also we ended up discovering EMP, Dago here, and other LARP style events. And then we saw this video. It's Worm Castle, White Castle. This video of these dudes in armor sieging a real castle and logs flying over the walls of the castle and blowing people over, like wiping them out. Like when I say logs, I mean logs.
That sounds amazing.
And we were like, what is this? We need to know what this is. And amusingly enough, at that time, James Jonathan was going around the USA. He spent some time in Ukraine, and he discovered the sport when he was there. And he was an SCA guy going around the USA trying to get Americans to go to the World Championships and get involved in the sport. So he was the reason the sport came into the United States. Like exclusively him. Like the rest of us were all like, "What is this? What is this?" And then we eventually found him. And then he brought us all together. Like he was the reason we sent that team the first time. That was all him. So it was really neat that he did that. He wouldn't quit basically because he apparently been trying to do it since 2008. And it wasn't until 2011 that he actually got people really wanting to go do it, kind of stuff. But that was my first exposure, and from that moment, I had to know more, and I was hooked. Didn't make it to Europe till 2017, though. It took me several years. I went in 2014 as a marshal, but in 2017, I went there as a fighter.
Wow.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it 2016? Okay, we don't remember. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know you fought. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, with Boohurt International and all of that being the new Boohurt League, which was the new HMBIA, lots of change-ups. Definitely a lot of change-ups. What would you say when it comes to like Boohurt International? What would you say is going to be the main benefit of that switch?
Main benefit of that switch. That's an interesting way to say that. So, like, what is Boohurt International going to do that the previous organizations didn't do? Is that maybe what you're asking?
Yeah, a little bit of that. A little bit of how it's going to affect the United States comparatively to the other orgs. Something I've heard a few times has always been it's like the U.S. is just the redheaded stepchild of the Boohurt world, right?
Right. Yeah. So the reality is the sport community as a whole has always been Eurocentric. But the Europeans are doing a lot more than we are. Like they're doing a ton more events than we are. When it comes to actual numbers, though, they're relatively like USA. When we did a whole backlog of all the Boohurt League teams, USA had 41. And like the next number, not counting Russia or Ukraine, the next number down is France with 31. And then the next number down from that is like 10 from any of the other countries. So most of the other countries only have anywhere from 10 to 1 team in their countries. And with us rolling with 40, we actually deserved a bit more credit than we were getting. The thing was that the majority of our teams weren't necessarily doing Bohurt League. They weren't doing HMBIA. So we didn't have that weight. The big difference for Bohurt International, and this is for every country, this isn't just for USA, is we're all going to have more of a say. Like anybody who's a Medieval Combat USA member, I've put questionnaires out to folks, to the teams, and asking, hey, what do you guys want? What do you want different? If you're on the Bohurt International discussion group Facebook page, you've seen we've posted like, hey, here's what we're thinking about for the rules for 2024. What's your thoughts? We're way more hands-on and way more having the community involved with everything we're doing, unlike where we were before. Because before you had work groups who made decisions, and the work groups were people who were assigned jobs, and you had the board of director, well, the advisory board, and then the president and vice president of the organization basically telling us where they wanted us to go. And then those work groups made it happen. And the work groups had a choice to do it however they felt like. So there was less input from the community. Not saying that we didn't listen to the community, but it wasn't a priority. And now we must have the community's opinion. The community must speak on this. So for USA and otherwise, the plan is, it's going to help everyone, everyone's going to get a better say. And like the representatives are all each country has one representative. And that representative is going to get a number of votes based on the number of teams that are registered within the organization.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But there's going to be a max. Like, we're not going to just let USA and France rule the world, kind of thing. Like, it's once you might get one vote for your first 20 members, and then 2 votes for 20 to 50, and then 50 plus you get 3 votes, and then that's it. There'll be a limit. Like,
yeah, cap out.
Yeah, because if you just let France and USA just have everyone sign up, then we're going to have 100 votes to everyone else's 5.
Right.
Anymore.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Right.
One thing that's
going to be voted on, though. We haven't voted on that yet. Just to be clear.
Okay.
Okay. Copy.
Yeah. Sorry. Like, wait a second. I need to make sure they don't yell at me. Anyway, go ahead.
One thing that you said there was that everybody in Europe is doing so much more than we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, how do we rectify that?
So first thing is, when I say that, it's kind of a half-truth. We are doing as much as they're doing. We're just we're being visualized as an entire country, whereas they're being visualized as a bunch of individual countries. So there's tons of events going on here, and there's tons of events going on there. The trick is almost all of their events are, Bohurt International events, or, formerly Bohurt League, formerly HMB events. That's not what we're doing. We're doing this acronym, that other acronym, no acronym at all, So we're broken apart in that sense, which we've been a lot more unified lately. Like last year at ACS Nationals, me and Joe and Christine and a few others, we went there and helped run the event. So it was at that time, an HMB ACS event kind of thing. It was both. So there's been a lot of combined effort. So that's good. But I think overall the dynamic is, when we're having a discussion about things, the Europeans are going, well, that wasn't an HMB event, so that doesn't count, and now it's going to be, that wasn't a Bohurt National event, that event doesn't count. So, but that's more dynamic. I do believe we're doing tons of events everywhere, because all of us are doing small, like Atlanta. I'm sure most of y'all don't even know, but like Atlanta just did a whole Ren Fair series like you guys did in Ohio.
Yeah.
But they're there wasn't a lot of hype for it, but they absolutely were out there for a month and a half doing fights there. So,
I mean, I like it anytime I hear that more people are out there fighting and participating in the sport. I know for me personally, though, it does get confusing when it comes to the acronym game.
Yeah.
Half the time, I don't know what event I'm going to. I just know that there is an event, and I don't really understand what it falls under.
right. Agreed. Sometimes that's how it is, or the rules are weird, and you're like, "Wait, what's going on with these rules? Why are these rules like this?" Yeah, it'd be nice if we just stuck together.
Absolutely. I just left an interview today before we got on here, and I spent probably 20 minutes just going over acronyms.
Yikes.
It's a bit much. But no, so yeah, no, I see stuff popping off. AMCF and IMCF is still doing their thing. It does seem to be there's a tick up in Buhurt League and Buhurt International style events within the United States, which is good to see. I like that rule set a bit more for reasons that involved grabbing rails. Now that that's going away, I'm a little bit more indifferent. Tabletop lists are making me relearn things. But no, it's definitely cool to see that there definitely just seems to be a lot more events happening in the U.S. overall.
Yes. Well, also we're all coming off of COVID, so everything's like off scale because of the COVID. Because like everything, I still think we're doing more events now than we were doing before, but it definitely changes up the dynamic.
I'd agree with that. One thing that I've been playing with, and it'd be interesting to know what your opinion on would be, is getting teams to collaborate, which is always a thing, but to kind of define a season.
Yeah, and that's that's the intent of Bohurt League. That's what Bohurt League's always been trying to do, and Bohurt National's been trying to do. It's kind of what I'm pushing with the idea of Carnage and my structure for selection in Carnage. Like Bohurt National is going to be like this one's kind of set in stone. Is from January 15th to December 15th. That's your season. That's your time to earn your points. That's your time to do all the things. What Bohurt National wants from every country that signs a contract with them is there'll be the top scoring teams for Bohurt International USA. They'll be the top scoring team for your conference and so on and so forth. So you'll have trophies basically given out at a national level. So it won't be that America has to compete with all of Europe to win first place. They get it because they were the best in the conference and things like that. So you'll have a better chance to get your goals versus trying to compete with a team that has to drive 3 hours every other weekend to go to a tournament. Versus us who, like, when I came up to Cincinnati, that was an 8-10 hour drive, one way.
Yep.
That's other teams did the same drive, that's a workload. And being able to do that. So we're hoping to do that as a thing. Another aspect we're going to put into the season to make the seasons work better is this will be voted on. This one's not set in stone, but you will have, we'll take your best 3 events kind of thing. Instead of taking, so like you have an event where you score 2 points at it. Well, you need to go to another event to get rid of that 2-point score, and you keep going to events and you've got your 50 point, you got 3 50-point events. And you're like, yes, we're good now, And then you see some other team gets a 60-point event and you go, shoot, now we have to find an event to go to get past that 60, so it'll be a level of competition, but it won't be like an impossible competition to win. Because right now we're totaling points, and when you total points, that just you end up so far behind, you can't catch up, so why bother?
That definitely makes sense.
Now, where can people go to track stats?
So the stats, we're getting the website rebuilt. It used to be, bohertglobal.com, but now it's bohertinternational.com. All the stats will be up there soon. They're in process at the moment, like the website's being built. And we're, unlike in the old days where we had substantial funding, we're doing this on a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
Like right now the council is basically fitting the bill on stuff. Like, it's like I go, hey, we really need this on the website, and everybody goes, cool, and looks around. And I'm like, okay, here's my credit card. I mean, that's what we're doing right now. And there's going to be membership fees, obviously, for the international stage to pay for these things.
Absolutely.
But right now we can't we need to give you a product first. We can't ask for money when we don't have a product to give you.
Yeah, can't promise anything yet.
Yeah. So we're building that, and so bohertinternational.com should have the scores up fairly soon, like Cincinnati's score and stuff like that will be up there. At the national level, you can go to Medieval Combat USA Facebook page, and I will be, because we just had another event. I'm getting all those events calculated into the system, and we'll have all the scores posted up there sometime this week. They'll be up to date. So if you scroll back on that page, you'll see the previous scores from after Arnold, I believe. But we had a series of events all in a row, so I'm waiting to put them all in versus putting in one and then the next day putting in another one and then putting in another one.
Do you have to deal with a lot of cries of people asking for like more in-depth records or to get more into, the real minutia of statistics? And a lot of it I know goes towards betting purposes. So that's stuff you want to try to avoid, but just to really dig into the details of what people are doing out there.
Yeah. Early on, people were kind of hoping, like every once in a while we get somebody who's like, hey, you're going to track how many kills I got? And we're like, no, we're not. Like not even going to debate that idea. But in turn, like Brett Skinner, for example, he has a business where you can pay him to review your fights, and he'll review a whole team's fights and all their scores for the event, and he has a whole spreadsheet of tracking and all this stuff. We talked about for Medieval Combat USA to pay him like maybe not a realistic salary, but a salary for him to do every Medieval Combat USA event and score out all the individual stuff. Yeah, none of you paying a high enough membership fee for that to even be slightly realistic. Just saying. I mean, what hours you have to put in.
I understand. I look at our gym dues and I understand. So, with that, I believe we have a question written down specifically regarding recording.
Okay.
Okay. So more of a marshalling related question. It's in the vein of marshalling, how do you see the use of technology, replay, drones, and other stuff being used to enforce or enhance martial calls in the future?
Okay. Well, I can look at the past. I want to give a story of the past and then turn around and talk about the future, because there's a thing that one of the things we brought into the sport pre-2019, pre-Serbia, is we brought into a thing, and I don't remember what this stands for, but CDC, and it's not about diseases. It was for competition purposes. But it was 3 individuals who would be reviewing fights and also reviewing like calls that marshals make. And the idea was they were going to like verify this red card should stand, or this red card should be dropped to a yellow card. Or why didn't they call this at all? Like, this guy needs red carded after the event because this was egregious, or whatever it may be. So they had this idea of this system. We're looking at this system also and how to use it. But an interesting thing that happened was we saw at Serbia, using video review, drone review, overhead camera review, we saw 30 plus dead fighters stand back up. Okay. But they were dead from the idea of, I'm going to try and visualize this on camera. So you got to go this way. So here's this hand. God damn it. This hand is a body. This is my shield. Okay. My shield goes past and touches the ground. That means I'm dead. But my fist slammed into the body. So for my brain, I never touched the ground because I felt my fist land in your chest or your shoulder or whatever it was. But in reality, my shield slammed like 3 inches into the dirt, and dirt flies up from it. That was almost every one of those 30 dead fighters. And that's where we came up with the rule of during a throw, you're allowed to touch the ground with your hand or shield and keep going. Because people were already doing it and we weren't catching it. So let's make it valid. Let's make it an allowed technique.
Absolutely.
Because we're not going to stop it anyways.
I love that rule.
At least not, without the camera changes, and everything seems to flow and be good from my experience. I've seen no issues. I mean, there might be some out there, but I haven't noticed them. And I haven't had anyone point them out to me in a realistic manner. I've had people claim, oh, people are standing up now because this rule exists. And it's like, okay, where's the video where a guy cheated, please? You're telling me they cheated? Prove it. Like we have these really cool 360 cameras, drones, all this stuff running now. You can prove it if it's happening. So do it. So in the future, one of the most hateful things to have happen is to look at a replay and try to make a call. And it's sometimes needed. But like the problem is, so now if we're doing a replay, then we have to make a judgment call on what do we do after the decision gets made. So we're going to ignore what the problem was, and now you have to look at the idea: do we restart the fight from that moment, and is that fair to even restart the fight from the moment of whatever the violation was, or do you simply card the individual who committed the violation, but then so we card blue team, but they won. And maybe if the guy didn't cheat, they would have lost. So is resetting the better option, or is carding them the option? What's the fair thing to do in those dynamics, and how do you handle that? So replays are very problematic in a martial stance because we have to figure out what's the right answer. And then sometimes the replay videos, like my personal favorite is showing a video that goes, see, this blatantly shows he didn't get hit in the neck. And the video blatantly shows the guy got hit in the neck, and you're like, what are you seeing? Because you're not seeing what I'm seeing, and, it's like, how do we, and it's like, two people staring dead at the screen, watching that 0.2 speed where it's super slow and you can see the guy's gorget and bed into his spine, and the guy's saying, see, it's not hitting his neck. And it's like, what definitions of words are you using? But you have those moments happen even with video. I do think, and then also their factor is we're slowing down the whole event. So now the next match isn't happening because we're watching video replays.
Taken away from the match.
Yeah, it takes away from the event. You slow the whole thing down. Now your audience is slowed down. Like everything is ground to a halt. All the excitement, all the pacing, all that's gone.
Yeah, the fight momentum.
I agree.
So there's a performance side of it versus a sports side of it, and which one's the right answer. There's, I'm not anti this stuff, but I'm also, you can see the problems. Like, what's the best answer is when you're able to have a marshal running the list, and then you have your night marshal who's off the list. Because the night marshal can watch the videos while the marshal's still running the event.
Right.
And that is okay because now you're not shutting things down. But like Iron Lions event, we had an appeal filed, and depending on what the call of the appeal was, it would change whether we had to fight a third round or not. So it didn't matter if we had a night marshal off to decide, because we still had to wait for the night marshal to decide, because there would not be a third round if the appeal is approved. And if the appeal is not approved, then there will be a third round. So it's yeah. The biggest thing is we have all this fun stuff is having quick access to it. Because you guys had tons of cameras rigged up for your event, but I don't think we were able to access any of your stuff for a quick review, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And what we're using, what we ended up using was when we did need to do one review, we had to use a cell phone, cell phone camera view, which is fine. Like, I mean, they're typically a cell phone is more than clear enough. But that's the whole dynamic is now we're going to put it on the live stream crew and stuff like that, the production crew, to make this stuff readily available for us, because now we're screwing up their performance and their broadcast. It's
well. And do you think that's an integration we would really want? You were speaking before about how the more we get into that, it's good that more people have access to watch the show or watch our fights, watch the events. They're more documented than they've ever been. But is putting too much of that changing the nature of the sport?
Right.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole dynamic. It will change the dynamic, the sport, but also the sport. As I said to one of the guys in a different conversation, we're in our tweens right now. The sport's basically 2010. We're 12, 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
We don't know what the hell we're doing right now. Like, we're still lost. I don't know how old any of you are, but think of paintball in the 90s. If you know paintball in the 90s, that's where we're at, so like that's what we're trying to figure out. And we can look at, because paintball was clearly trying to be competitive, but whether that was working or not in the 90s, trying to they were getting their feel for the dynamic. And so we can look at a lot of what they did and what went wrong and what went right for them, in my opinion.
Wow, that's interesting to use the paintball analogy. Huh.
Yeah, you can pick any. You can also look at like Highland Games. Like, Highland Games are old, but Highland Games competitive in the USA aren't old at all. And you got to look at how they market themselves, so what kind of crowd they bring and what they do. So there's because like really what brings Highland Games is people who are into Highland stuff. Like they don't just care about the game itself. They care about Highland stuff, so it's a market we have to look at what is our real market.
And the people enjoying it. And with that, we talked just a minute ago about a review process or an appeal process. I know we had questions on our team specifically about how the yellow and red cards or flags work.
Okay.
And I didn't know if you could clarify
from scratch how they work. So you an individual competitor gets a yellow card per category. All right. So like if you're at an event and there's duels and there's 5s and there's 12s, they get the yellow card for the category they're competing in. They don't get a yellow card for the whole event. Well, I mean, they could get a yellow card for the whole event, but that's like we're going to talk about just competing in the tournament.
Hmm.
So if you get a yellow card in duels and then you get a yellow card in melees, those are two different things. Like those are, I mean, they're both a yellow card. They both punish you, generically, but they don't cross over with each other.
Hmm.
They don't stack. Unless it's like you hit a guy in the back of the knees in the duels and then you hit a guy in the back of the knees on a melee. We might decide to call that a universal.
Hmm.
But if it's completely different problems, we handle it differently. So a fighter can get 2 yellow cards, going back to the topic, regardless of the idea of categories. You get 2 yellow cards in a given category, and that equals a red card. And then once you've been issued a red card, you are now out of the tournament, or you're out of that category. So with the idea of being out of that category, now your team has to finish that match short. So not you have 7 fighters, it's you have to field with 4 kind of thing. And then the next round of the next match, you have to fight short also.
Okay, fair. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. Now a team can get 2 red cards and a yellow card. So one of you been knocked out of the tournament, like one of the fighters on Cincinnati's out because of a red card. Another fighter gets out because of a red card. Now, if anyone on the team gets a yellow card, the entire team is disqualified from the tournament in that category.
Oh.
So
Makes sense.
So there's a tiered system of it gets more severe if it's obviously a recurring thing.
right. And I mean, in USA, like most of our events were like it's mostly warnings and maybe 1 or 2 yellow cards per event. We're really either our marshals are all being too nice, or all our fighters are being really clean, or all our fighters are being really good at cheating. One of those things is happening. Pick and choose.
Now we need like a Boohurt penalty box.
Right. Yeah. That'd actually be pretty exciting. Then people can kind of like harass the fighters in their box.
Yeah. Put them by the audience so the audience can throw tomatoes at them.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Get them riled up.
Oh, jeez.
You might have to add that to your Ren Fair fights.
That's not a bad idea, honestly.
Yeah, let's write that down.
Yeah,
but not tomatoes. Make it like heads of lettuce. You don't want something acidic because acidic's going to make the armor rust faster.
Oh, true.
Okay. Thanks for watching out for us.
That would have pissed me off. Like I hit with a tomato.
We could easily monetize that one as well. Hey guys, $5 a head. Throw it at one of our knights.
Yeah, chop it up.
He's been bad.
Yeah. You get the head of lettuce and you put it in like a netting type thing. So they get to swing it around like a mace and they cross the head with it so it explodes over their helmet.
Oh,
it all flies out.
He's got all sorts of ideas.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, that's the play right there.
Yeah, because when somebody watches that happen to somebody, then other people are going to be throwing $5 in. They're going to be, oh yeah, let me get ahead. I want to get this guy.
Yeah.
So looking at all of our questions that were put in, the most popular ones by far are all auth related.
Yeah. Today's topic of the night. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Alrighty then.
Gotta love it, right? I mean,
yeah.
In one of the polls that you put out, or the big poll about that, there was a comment I believe that you put out about just how misunderstood auth actually is.
Okay.
Or that some people just have no idea what auth is there for. The famous one, of course, that I read was I think it was their captain telling them that they couldn't put anti-concussion padding in their helmet.
Yeah, that one impressed me. I was like, what the is going on?
You guys doing that over there? That's
like
impressive.
who said that one? That's a
That one
whole different world.
raised a flag for me. So, uh, fill us in a little bit. What is the main purpose of auth? Why is auth um, enforced?
So we are evolving. So that definition has changed over the years. So you got our history lesson. This is from having. I wasn't there, so everything I'm about to tell you is maybe, maybe not. This is a story that was told over drinks in a random country in the world, um, with a group of dudes. So back in the '90s, you had a group of the guys who thought reenactment was super cool, and they wanted reenactment to be cooler. And they had, they didn't have healthcare. We had to spend money on, uh, and in turn, they were like, "Hey, let's hit each other hard, or let's see how hard we can hit each other and not kill each other." And that is basically where the sport came from. Was a bunch of young guys, teenagers, etc., who were doing reenactment in Eastern Europe, and they wanted to do it harder. They wanted to do it more violent. So the sports basis came from reenactors. And when I say reenactors, I'm not talking Ren Fair. I'm talking reenactors.
Oh yeah,
I'm talking. I don't know what's popular in Ohio for reenactment, even though I grew up in Ohio. But like South Carolina, obviously Civil War reenactment's a big deal here. And they care about your thread count. They care about all these little details. That's the culture that created this sport in the modern era. So we have that culture that's with us. In turn, the sport, no matter what anybody says, we had Ukrainian, Belarusian, and Russian oligarchs working together who were those teenagers way back then who all have lots and lots of money who said, we want this cool sport to exist. And in turn for the cool sport to exist, they said, these are the standards we want. We want to be historically accurate. We want everyone to wear historically accurate gear. And they're paying all the bills. They're paying all the funding for everything. So they set the standard, and the authenticity committee was created to help enforce a standard.
Okay.
So it's coming from that era of real reenactment. And it obviously makes, like, even the early days when everything was really accurate initially, even in those eras, it was still tons of things that were wrong. And there still are things that are wrong. And there's never going to not be things that are wrong.
Yeah.
So that the general idea initially for authenticity was to maintain that reenactment standard. And in the early rules, it actually referenced reenactment authority, blah, blah, blah. Like it was some international organization in Europe. Like that was the standard you were supposed to be following. So they had a whole structure for what they expected you to have. But that was all basically saying have good armor. And then they ended up learning that we're getting a bunch of people in the sport who has no idea what good armor is.
Mm-hmm.
Totally clueless what good armor is.
Yeah.
And that came out with the authenticity books, the guides and all that. And the problem with the guides is now we had to quantify it. Before I could go, yeah, Cade, your kit looks fine. You're good. It's like, Alex, it'd be really nice if you could change your visor to be more like this because that's a more proper shape. And that's all we said and did. Of course, we get wonderful messages like, is cowboy hat? No. Or bad shin gloves? No. And you're like, bad shin gloves? What? Like, what are you saying? I have bad shin gloves. What does this mean? Help me. Or personal favorite, you walk up with an axe, you set it on the table to have it inspected, and they go, is shit, and then hand it back to you. That's all they say, is shit, and hand it back.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do I
what can I do to change this?
Like, how do I fix this? And like, is shit, and you're like, I don't understand what is shit means. And it was an interesting experience. And for reference, Kinstall, a cowboy hat was their Trey Sutter's kettle helm. The way it's shaped looks like kind of like a cowboy hat. So they
Oh.
call his kettle helm a cowboy hat. He was the one who got his cowboy hat. No, but you have these different creative answers that were happening. So then we had to quantify all the rules, and quantifying the rules sucked because it was actually better for you when we didn't have quantified rules. But not you guys, but people before you, they all wanted quantified rules, and we're like, you don't
But
want
now that
that.
they got them,
Now that you got them, it's like, okay, now we have like 5 rivets. Well, it shows 5 rivets. That's why you have to have 5 rivets. And like, well, you said it looked bad before. Right. It looked bad because it was shaped wrong. You wanted details, so now we've made detailed rules. And now we have to enforce stupid detailed rules. The authenticity stuff is all published on bohertinternational.com. By the way, I'm reading comments. So you can hop there and look at it. It's also on the authenticity publications page on Facebook. You can it's a pinned post on that page on Facebook, and it has all the published rules so far. And you can harass Boris Tuman or Bryce Shirley. There's both people who are supposed to be helping folks in the USA on authenticity stuff. So, sorry, responded to the chat.
yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. That's what they're here for, to participate as well.
Yeah.
Again, Chad, if you have any other questions you want to pop in and out, Laurance can see your questions.
Yeah. So, with that in mind, how the authenticity went from there is we detailed it out, and then when we detailed it out, we have to enforce the detailed rules now. In turn, so the standard was the main the more idea was that we wanted to make sure we had a good aesthetic, and we looked medieval, and we kept that medieval feel, that medieval appeal. People would look out at the field and see knights. And remember, sport was predominantly in Europe. What do they want to see? They want to see knights when they go to a thing that talks about knights.
Yep.
And they know what knights look like because they can walk into the museum down around the road and actually see knights, knight stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's a little bit harder for us to go see knight stuff. We see movies and we see Ren fairs and we see D&D games. That's where we get our idea of what a knight looks like.
Yeah.
So we have a different image of what we expect to see versus what a European expects to see. So the initial idea was authenticity. Well, authenticity, not initial. Where we were at was we were maintaining a standard of appearance. And now, because we don't have the overall funding and all that kind of stuff coming into the community, and we're working on stuff from a different angle and a different level, we're asked the community. Like we did that poll that had 856 responses, which was great, on what their importance of their value of authenticity was versus the importance of sports modifications versus the, whatever their dynamics is, whatever they found most important. And with those, the authenticity committee is having a fun discussion, and I'm saying fun because that's sarcasm, about where we need to go based on what that pool said and what those entries are. In addition to that, we also have to follow the authenticity committee. Our power is derived from the leadership of the organization. Like if the Boher National Council says fuck authenticity is gone. Like, what power does it have if they say it's gone? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's if they say keep it, then keep it. If they say go hard, then we go hard. Like we're gonna do what they say because this is their standard that they're wanting us to do. Which I know gets all sorts of, can go in different directions. And we'll see what happens. I cannot even remotely guess to where we're going to end up at. I do believe we're going to dial it back some. I have the expectation of there's going to be a lot of arguments to end with from 10 feet away. Can I tell? Can I see those RI bars 10 feet away from you? No, I can't see those eye bars 10 feet away. So who cares?
Yeah.
Or, can I tell that that's leather or biothane? No, I absolutely cannot tell if that's leather or biothane. So who cares? And yes, Grandpa Warhammer, I guess.
Yeah.
You absolutely, there has to be a limit on eye bars. We can't. We've seen the monsters. We've seen the horrifying displays of horrible eye bars. And there has to be limits. There always has to be limits.
4 eye bar wolf ribs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a wolf rib looks bad regardless. So, and there's going to be problems. I mean, come on. Look at an ROA. Look at the cool knight helm with the brow Optimus Prime front piece, and look at an ROA. Look at a wolf rib. Which one's cooler? Who wants to see an Armée versus see a wolf rib? It's always going to be the Armée. It's always going to be the ROA Bassinet. They're always cooler. Not saying they're better to fight in. They're cooler.
I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one.
Fair. That's as fair as they can get put.
Yeah. You can't. You can't argue that. You can absolutely argue Wolf Rib's going to work better. Like, I'm not going to remotely deny that. Other than safety,
Yeah. On the topic of that, let's see, like, we're just talking about like authenticity. Why does it sometimes take precedent over safety? Like, how come we can't just have the double eye bars and like the perforated eye plates? Aren't they currently like prohibited right now?
Yeah. Generically, those things are. Yeah, I mean they are prohibited in the rule set. It's see. Me and you barely know each other, so I'm going to say this in a nicer way.
I'm just as like a fresh fighter.
I've had this convo with other motherfuckers before, and I have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
But for you, because it's the first time telling you it, you can pick a helmet that's absolutely safe. You can pick a helmet with a visor that absolutely protects you. No doubt about it. That there is no weapon that's allowed in the sport that can touch you in the face whatsoever fucking ever. But you chose to pick a wolf rib, so fuck you. So.
Jeez.
I mean, that's it. I mean, that literally is the answer. Like, we absolutely have helmets that there's no way you could ever be harmed with normal weapon. If the helmet collapses and bends, blah, blah, blah. But you have a shitload of choices. But you choose the helmet that I can literally wedge an axe through.
Yeah,
come on, man. That's an action. But that's the reason why there is not a rule on safety, because it's not safety. You're choosing the dangerous option.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like I'm trying to make
if you want to be safe, you should be wearing a 16th century suit of plate, with a tournament helm, and then have the frickin' where they have the whole articulation in the elbow and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so there's nowhere you can be hit. You literally have no skin exposed whatsoever. You can be safe and completely authentic, but what do you choose to wear? You choose to wear a Visby coat of plates that doesn't cover your ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, so, and that was my nice answer, by the way, just to be clear.
All right. Yeah. Let's turn off the stream and he'll just tell me it straight up.
A single tear is coming down my face as my wolf rib is being finished.
Right. I'm about to order one now.
switching
Just because I
switching
like
from a
breathing,
skivered
okay,
bassinet to a
Laurance?
wolf rib, going from
Yeah.
objectively one of the cooler helmets to being able to see and breathe during a fight.
Right.
Yeah. And I get it. I mean, well, the reality is, dude. I mean, I fight. Is my nope? My helmet's on the shed, so I can't go grab it. Oh, I could, but it'd be a few minutes. Like I fight in a Timurid 1490 suit of armor. So I have that big turban, the juicer spun top with
Oh,
a
okay.
point,
Nice.
and then I have a bar grill that's covered in chain. So I get all the advantages of the wolf rib, but I'm in a full Eastern kit. You know, so I get all that breathing and all that stuff, but it's looking through the chain. You know, but mine's a completely documentable kit. Like, in fact, my kit's so detailed that I have one manuscript image that you can look at that manuscript image, and then you can look at my suit of armor, and head to toe it matches.
Nice.
Like,
So,
you know,
why is it, do you think that if like your helmet sounds like the best of both worlds, why isn't everyone doing that?
Yeah, from Eastern
Eastern kits suck.
Oh,
And the sports end, Eastern kits
Yes,
suck.
they do.
No, they
I
suck.
was just leaning into that.
Worth wearing them. So,
I think everybody should wear them.
like, well, here, hold on a second. Like, this is, because I do have this one sitting here. I just remembered her camera's backwards for me. All right, so her eyes slots are pretty freaking huge, and she does not have bars in them because
oh, really?
she's let me-
Risque.
It's because I'm love, Larry.
Yeah. Here, you can see my hand there, so you can see how big the eye slots are. No bars, no nothing. But yeah, so this has all the wolf rib effect. Underneath
kind
it.
of like
It's all
a
caged.
nasal or something.
Yeah, it's like a nasal, etc. But like nasals and English crosses, they're just as good as a wolf rib in my eyes.
Yeah.
And they're safer because you have less area to penetrate your face. Because like poor Julie, for example, she fought at Carthage and got stabbed in the face twice during longsword fights. And then she made it through BLWC without getting stabbed in the face. And then at IMCF, when she went to that, she got stabbed in the face again. So, like, Julie wearing her wolf rib has been cut in the face
multiple times.
3 times in the past 6 months. And I'm just like,
yeah.
I mean,
There's got to be a pattern.
If you're gonna lose an eye doing anything, what a cool
Yes.
story, man.
Yeah. Eye patches, man.
So, but like Christine, for example, she's always had helmets without extra eye bars. She's always had the big wide open eye like that. Never had an issue. Never had any issues. She fights duels all the time.
Knock on wood here.
Yeah, big pro. Well, we've said this 100 times at this point. So if it was going to happen, it was going to happen by now. But then we have like one of the new guys, Reed. He fought with the Misfits at Cincinnati. He took a kettle helm and he just took the chain and ran it all the way to the top of the kettle.
Huh.
Like so the kettle helm brims here, and he ran the chain all the way up.
Mm.
So he just stares through the chain, and he totally safe. Like, you want perfect plate? You want this? Yeah, he's got it. Like, show me how he's in danger. Other than the kettle helm itself sucks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Travis, the other answer for like European kits, the nasal and the English cross are the way to go. Both those are going to give you the same.
I wear a kettle myself as often as I can, and it is dumb and terrible to wear, and I love it so much.
Yeah, it's just
right. One of the good things about the kettle is blows that would have potentially slammed into your collarbone bounce off the top of the kettle.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's literally what the kettle was for. It was called the archer's helm because the arrows are all dropping down from above,
like a rain.
And they're hitting that brim and shooting off to the sides, and they're they're hitting you here versus here. Here you die. Here you just feel unpleasant.
Oh,
that was the whole point of the kettles.
Nice little history lesson here too.
I like I said, I love the one I wear. A couple people have managed to pull it off of me, but I haven't felt anything else through it.
Yeah,
that's always good.
So you own a Eastern kit, right?
Yes.
So we have a question as well about more Eastern kits. It's like, how much leeway do like Eastern helmet decorations have, considering the more limited nature of the information regarding Eastern helmets variations and its designs as it concerns to like authenticity?
That's a super vague question.
Yeah.
Like there's an infinite number of things I can say or not say about what this is, what designs they have and how those designs can be used. I mean, there's so many. Like Christine's first helmet, it across the front inscribed, because it's very common for their helmets to be inscribed with various scripture, things like that. So her first helmet, which happened to also be right nearby, it's old, but there's a line of Farsi, I believe, if I remember correct, across it, because that is not necessarily medieval appropriate Persian, but it's as close as we can get. That potentially says sparkle strike, lightning strike, or bling bling motherfucker. So, but throughout their stylings and all that, it was common for them to inscribe stuff. Like my helmet, for example, it has the the minaret thing in the centerpiece. That says "He who protects," because it's a helmet. They're like, "What do you want it to say?" And I'm like, "It protects my head." And they went, "Okay, he who protects." So the inscription in there is "He who protects." So hopefully, because whatever you wrote on your armor was supposed to be like a spell that you were casting that protects you, or a prayer, etc. So you have those dynamics. So you have a lot of leeway in the idea of the inscriptions that you can have throughout the helmet. We have a bunch of extant examples of the surviving helms from the era. So we know the styles they did with the different stuff, but there are still a lot of limitations because I'm going to say, for lack of a better, they weren't very creative. I mean, they were creative because they had this beautiful artwork, but like they're all the same helmets. Like there's tons of the exact same thing over and over again, kind of stuff. It's really interesting how that worked. Yes, Warhammer absolutely took the idea. Who is it? The Custodes in Warhammer, how they have the inscriptions of all the names in the armor and all that kind of stuff, guys. That is absolutely a Persian, Arabic, etc. style of. That's a concept that comes from their culture in medieval era. You would actually write important phrases, spiritual statements, basically scripture, etc., across your shirt, your gambeson, for lack of a better word. Those would be written all across, and that was a name, that was a structure, a symbol to protect you, to ensure your safety, all that kind of stuff. By having all this, your religious script, your beliefs, etc., written across everything, like they do for like the Custodes and things like that in 40K.
I'm about to start doing that. Yeah. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, there's all these different little concepts. Like what I started to do, and either way, I ended up not doing it. But I started to do it was after a tournament, I would write something about how I felt about that tournament inside my gambeson. Kind of thing,
little
that's cool.
Yeah, so just it was being inscribed throughout the inside of it, different stuff.
That's amazing.
It was just a neat idea, but I didn't keep up with it. So
darn.
Yeah.
So
let's see.
Talking about kits and Eastern kit's kind of sucking. What do you think is like the worst kit that you could wear out right now that would pass?
Um,
Like worst kit. My bet's on Samurai. That I would say that would just generally suck.
so here's the thing. I'm not. So we're going with just not the build, but like a design. That's bad.
Yes.
Okay. So first thing, just going to break down my thoughts on it. Samurai, there's no valid samurai kits. Any samurai kit you're wearing is so modified from a samurai kit that it's not. It's no longer a samurai kit.
Oh, how come they make katanas then?
What's that?
Real quick.
Well, yeah.
Anybody with the barbarians that is currently watching this, you heard it. You're not buying samurai kits. Please stop asking me.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, literally, there's no pop. So Edo period is when they actually have a semblance of real armor. Okay, I am not a samurai expert at all. Okay, but the Edo period is when they start to have like armor that actually covers most of their body and all that kind of stuff, and you can easily document arm protection and all that kind of stuff. Look at it for half a freaking second. Half a second. There are so many gaps, and the gaps are huge. And I've heard a bunch of stories of why their armor was built that way because they really weren't built to fight other armored foes and all sorts of other silly things. Like it was built to fight peasants, not to fight each other, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
But the Edo period though is after the medieval era. So as soon as Japanese armor is theoretically safe enough for Bohurt, it's no longer medieval, and we're playing a medieval game.
Mm.
So that's the first problem with samurai kits. Now, let's ignore that and let them take armor from the 1700s and use it. Well, now it doesn't have any real knee protection. Like, they don't have knee cups. They have kind of like a shovel, like the Greek armor, we usually refer to it as a shovel greave. They kind of have that. It's like the greave piece goes up and then it flares out, but it doesn't protect from the top at all. So any blow from above coming down at them is going to come straight into the knee. There's nothing shielding them there. So you have to wear additional armor to make your knee protection. And the same idea is they have no thigh armor. They have the skirt folds, etc., hanging over the thighs, which potentially is okay, but I can promise you it won't be okay all the time.
Yeah.
And you're going to have problems there. And any inside blow to the thigh, that's just hidden flesh. Once again, mounted combat, mounted horsemen, that was a big thing for them. So their armor wasn't designed to deal with, strikes in that manner. Same thing with the elbows. Same thing with where the shoulders are. The shoulders, the flaps are there, but they also only protect so much. There's nothing on the elbows. There's usually only a minor strips across the forearms. They don't have a whole lot of hard protection, so you have to like modify the hell out of it to make it off, safe, and you're no longer nowhere near being authentic anymore. So that's my comment on samurai stuff. Now, like Omer's kit is safe, but Omer's kit, it's absolutely not documentable. Like there's so much stuff added to it. It's like he's basically wearing anybody wearing a European kit to make them safe and then turning around and wearing an Eastern kit because they want to look Eastern, but they're wearing a bunch of European armor to be safe in their Eastern outfit. Yeah. That's the worst armor.
Like a mix.
It's so the reason a Mongol kit, the Timur kit, the kit I wear, the kit Christine wears, the reason those are good is because we have to wear less armor. If we're actually wearing a proper version of that armor, we wear less. So we have the greaves, we have the sabatons, all that's the same. Well, generically the same. It's different, but the same. We have our knees. But then our thighs, they only need to be like a half a thigh. We only have to wear it like halfway up the thigh. We don't have to wear it all the way up the thigh. We can wear some plates on the inside, but on the outside, like the right and left, the outside of our thighs, we don't need any armor at all in those, because you have a gambeson that's going down past your knees. Okay, that gambeson is a giant curtain that slows down everything. Then we have our jacket that we're wearing, which is a Degel, Katanga Degel, and that in turn, you have that hanging down. That's also going down past your thighs.
Yeah.
That's another curtain. So you have two curtains hanging. You don't put armor in the curtain past your pelvis, basically. You just let that hang as fabric. That's usually more than enough to stop any blow coming at you. Like, unless you're pinned in a corner and they're pounding on you, that's all you need. But in case you need more, you could put a couple plates in the curtain, and that'll solve anything else that comes at you. So now all of you are wearing armor up to your hips, on your legs, and we're not. We just have this curtain hanging from our waist, so our legs can move more freely. We have less stuff restricting us. This is a proper Mongol kit, which no one wears. Everyone's wearing like a European leg armor, which is like, you don't need it, because you should be relying on the design of the armor, how it was efficient for back then.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably do need thigh armor. I'm just telling you what you can do to be more effective. So then that was for the person commenting. With that in mind, then you have your robe that you put on, and it's basically a bathrobe. Like, be very real. It's a bathrobe. It just closes and you slap it on. Why was it built that way? It's like, because you're hanging out and doing your nomadic life, working with whatever animals you got in the area and all that kind of stuff. And then your boss rides by and he has a big ass spear that has a black horsetail hanging from it. That means, hey, let's go fight. So then you run over, grab your armor out of the bag, throw it over your shoulder, and jump on your horse and get going. And you're off to battle. So that simpleness of that armor, historically, it was like, 3-inch squares. The reality is, you making those plates as big as you want underneath that brig.
Really?
Like underneath that. They can be whatever shape you want. Like Christine's shoulders, they're Roman loricas underneath.
Oh, yeah.
The Roman lorica big plates that go. So her shoulders are super flexible. Like, they can totally collapse in and totally come back out. So she can bring her arm up quickly and easily on either side. Then you just have a flap over your shoulder, and with that flap just hanging loose, that's literally just hanging loose. In turn, that means somebody, if they time it right, can just blast me or Christine in the bicep, and it's going to hit our bicep. Like, we got nothing protecting us. But more often than not, that's not going to happen. And if we're pinned in a corner, our arms are down anyways, so the armor's covering it. But when we're up like this, the armor's not covering it. We're in danger. This could just get nuked. And we just have to take it.
It's a risk you take, yeah.
Yeah. And then the Bazabond. The getting angles. The Bazabond comes and covers like to here. To here, like this. And it only covers the angle is so weird on the camera. It's all backwards for me. It covers like this. Nope, that looks like shit. Bring your arm up. No, bring your arm over. It's literally right there. Never mind. She'll put it on in a second. You guys will see.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't fully cover your arms and your elbows. So, like, if somebody goes to fire into my elbow pit, they can have it all day. There's nothing stopping that. There's no armor protecting me there. But my arm can super move however I want. I have no limitations on it. So it's all super mobile. That is how you want your Mongol kit, your Eastern kit, to be built to be effective, because you're getting all the advantages, all the mobility, all the fluid motions, and all those kind of things with it. Everyone puts on 5 times the armor of that. Everyone puts in an elbow cop, a rear brace, and then they have the big armor sleeve that's hanging down with a rear brace and the elbow cop. You have all these layers of armor you don't need.
Yeah. Now it's interfering with authenticity.
Yeah. But so you see how that is?
Okay.
All that's fully exposed. All that's fully exposed. But she's fighting and doing her thing. Sees somebody swing at her. She goes like this: pop, pop. Easy. All that
It's like
kind of fun.
okay. It's like an extended van brace looking like.
Yep. Basically, that's all they are. But that's how Bosabon's designed, and it's way more fluid and it's way easier. And Christine, you've been in kit since at least 2016.
Yeah.
And any injuries from weapons?
Only in unarmored spots, like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, like she took a bad hit here one time.
Yeah,
Gap shots in the bicep.
I got hit in the wrist one time. I had a little gap. That was just like a bruise, but it didn't feel good.
Yeah, and then one pelvic shot, maybe.
She hit me more than once there.
Yeah,
but yes.
the pelvic shot you took once, a couple times, but me, the injuries I took in the sport had nothing to do with it was literally my knee was wrecked from tendon damage. It wasn't wrecked from being hit.
When I broke my finger because I got hit in the palm of the hand.
Oh yeah, and she broke her finger from blocking it this way, which
What happened, but...
Yeah, she wasn't blocking. She was actually grabbing someone's helmet, but an axe came in as she was grabbing, and so it smashed her fingers from the inside.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame the kid on that. Axes tend to do that to most of them. Hit the fingers.
Right, yeah.
Ignore things.
But we wear very minimal Mongol kits. But I would argue the worst kit is the guy who's wearing all the European crap and then trying to look Mongol. That's probably the worst kit. And why Mongol kits suck, because that's what everyone wears. Hold on, the Holy Bro. So working in a museum, there are records of really elaborate and fancy armor and like paintings and stuff, but it was mostly just stuff for show or from nobles trying to be cool. What's the kind of stuff that passed for authenticity? So most likely anything you're looking at in that artwork, the Holy Bro, that is stuff that is probably, depending on what century it is, we can turn around and find the actual example of it. Because most of the fancy suits of armor that show up are 15th, 16th, 17th century era, and we have those. Those whole suits of armor still exist. So we can definitely, whatever you're talking about there, you can send pics, etc., and we can probably track down the actual suit of armor it is drawing, and then make a reference from there.
Nice. What kind of sources are used? That like, is it all manuscripts like you would find hanging in a banquet hall, or what? I'm just more curious. What are the sources of the stuff that the decisions authenticity makes? Where are they getting those standards or guidelines from?
Well, the standards and guidelines are being established by the organization to pick what their opinion is. With that in mind, we have a pack of actual museum curators from around the world. We have armorers whose sole job is to make reproductions for museums who are in the authenticity committee.
That's awesome.
Well, it's basically these guys are all like, oh, here's this cool thing people are doing with a skill that I have. And so they want to be involved just because they get the chance to be involved. You know what I mean? Like they get to do something with their job beyond just nerding out by themselves. It's a whole dynamic. So we have these people who put on tons of effort, and they don't even do the sport. Like they've never been to an event. They have no interest in ever going to an event. They just love the idea that they have this pack of 30 plus people who are going to chat with them about the armor. So typically the standard is when we want to pass something or want someone to prove that something exists, we will want three pieces of artwork, and they need to not be from the same manuscript. And when I say same manuscript, I don't mean the same image. I mean the book, because a manuscript's a book. It's not a one page. So we have a standard of we expect to have three things, three pieces of artwork that imply this design or shape. From there, the other effort we go into is we discuss and look at whether or not there's an extent piece of that item. For example, the Great Helm Griffin, the Griffin Great Helms that we banned a few years back.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, look at this artwork of that. The thing is, that looks really close to, I believe it's the Pembridge Great Helm. So it's the Pembridge Great Helm. Because other artists drew it and it looks just like the Pembridge Great Helm. This looks almost like the Pembridge Great Helm. And with the idea of we're looking at the artwork and then we look for an extent piece of that artwork. And when we can find an extent piece, we're going to lean towards the extent piece being more accurate than the artist. Because Kearney loves the yell about authenticity, and he uses the potato horse as an example. Yeah, we use the potato horse as an example also. It's like, hey, this is a guy trying to draw a horse, but here's what a horse really looks like. Are we going to use the source that looks like a potato, or are we going to use the source that looks like a horse? And it's the same thing with the stuff is, yeah, we can find a weird looking Great Helm, but then we can turn around and go, hey, look, here's extent Great Helms from that era. And so these look really close to that. So we're going to go with this is that. And typically, if you have an effigies we'd almost always take as good as being an extent piece of armor. Almost always, unless it's showing something super abnormal. And I have no idea how to teach this next bit, but this is absolutely a fact. Over time, when you stare at this shit and people are making you look at it and discuss it over and over and over again, you start to actually see the fine details of what makes something what. Like when I first started doing this authenticity stuff, I didn't do it because I cared about authenticity. I wanted the rules to be fair. I could give a shit about authenticity. I didn't know. I knew Mongol shit because I like Mongol shit. I didn't know anything else. I got involved because I was tired of hearing it's shit, and that was the only answer we got.
Yeah.
I wanted something better than that, or I looked over and went, that sure looks like Tim was allowed to wear that helmet, but Bob was told no. And I was like, no, fuck that noise. So I got involved to make sure that Tim and Bob had the same rules.
Standardize it. Yeah.
And to make that all be even and fair across the board. That is why I did authenticity. Now, people will show me a manuscript and I'll be like, oh, yeah, that's from 1375. And not because I recognize the manuscript and know it's 1375. It's the style of artwork. My brain goes, oh, that's what that is. I have no fucking idea when that started happening, but I can do that now.
Funny how that always works out.
Yeah, it just osmosis or some bullshit just eventually broke through.
Have you ever, a little bit tinfoil hat time, have you had anyone ever try to present a fraudulent document or a fraudulent
yeah.
try to get something passed through?
Yes, and we've actually done it to each other, which is even better. So the best example was we were banning the base cap bassinet. And that's the bassinet that has the baseball cap visor sticking out.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The documentation for that comes from, there's a grave. It's the Ryazan bassinet. It's a bassinet that was found in Ukraine, and it was dated to the time frame of like the Mongol invasion era, etc. And there was also a visor piece, in that pile of armor and bodies and stuff like that. So they associated those two things as being together. And then you have Victorian era. There was a bassinet where they slapped that on there. And it was a historic bassinet. Like if you check the metal of the bassinet itself, it's from the 14th century. If you check the metal, the visor that's attached to the bassinet, and by the way, the bassinet has the holes in it to do the hinge visor thing, but it has, the baseball cap attached to it, which it Why does it have these holes up here? Not where your ears are, but up here. And, like obviously it's been modified. But the visor piece, when it was checked, and the only reason we know this is because the museum curator who has that helmet sitting in the museum is the one who told us this. They checked the visor piece, and the visor piece is from like the 18th century.
Oh,
Where's the bass? So it's a made up item.
somebody's-
But the funny thing is, because you can find these helmets. It was not to say helmets; it's artwork. There's a famous Italians versus Germans battle on a ship, and it has like all the different levels of the ship all fighting each other. Visored bar boots is a different thing, but similar. So you have this fight going on, and there's a bunch of dudes who look like they're wearing, bassinets with baseball visors sticking out of them. But when you look closer, when you look at a high definition photo of it, you see all those things have markings like they're done to be the visors. Their visors are all lifted.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But it looks like with the artist trying to draw the idea that they lifted their visors, So it's an interesting thing. But what we did is a couple of the guys were screwing around and took a couple of those images and then made it like they had chainmail going all the way up their face. And then they gave it to other people.
Spread the word.
Yeah. So it was a completely photoshopped rig of an Aventail all the way up the face in a European kit that had the baseball cap thing going on. And it was going around, and we're like, okay, guys, this was a joke. We were just being funny for April Fools, blah, blah, blah. It was messing around thing. And every once in a while, that thing still pops up. As someone saying, wait, look, here it is. And we're like it's been uploaded somewhere to something, that someone can Google search and find it now, when it was just the Facebook pass around making jokes at each other kind of stuff.
Yeah, could be real.
Yeah. So we absolutely, it was just funny because like the best thing was the guy who did the artwork was arguing with the guy about the base cap, and the person sent him the fake photo he made. You know what I mean? Like he got sent the same photo he created by someone trying to prove it's real. And he's like, no, that's fake. I made it. It's fake. I promise.
Yeah, I'm the original artist.
So it's happened, but we've never caught someone doing it knowing they're actually making a fake thing and trying to pass it through.
That's amazing. I'm delighted that you had that answer for that.
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was truly funny. Like I loved it when he started having to deal with his own comedy. It was great for him to get his own payback.
Always. So we've talked about it a little bit in the past, but it was asked kind of in a way again from community questions, and it was in terms of fighter individuality and off. Moving along to like more intricate paintwork for shields, possibly. I've said it before. NASCAR me up. Give me sponsor patches all over a tabard. That kind of stuff is that being revisited, or is it something that's on the radar to be revisited? And what's your opinion?
Anytime I have brought it up in any of the discussions about sponsorships, it is met with hatred.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah, people are not opposed. They're not opposed to it being hanging around the list, things like that. But having a fighter blatantly marked up as a thing is a no-go at this time. That is a constant no from the Boher International standard. I really don't think they're ever going to totally bend on that. What I think may happen, and I don't know if we would ever get a sponsor to buy into it. This is where I'm going. The Shields is kind of the path there. Is what we might buy into is having the logo of the company, but done in a medieval way.
Ooh, yeah, like a little mixture twist to it.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? But I
that could
don't
be a
know that
tough
the
sell
company
though,
is
like
going
you
to buy
said.
into it.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
yeah.
like, because like, what is it? Bear Paw and it wasn't Bear Cubs. What was the baby team called? The young guys. Either way, like Bear Paw and stuff like that. They had the one was a bear paw, and the other one like was just the claw marks of the bear.
Pretty cool. Could be
Monster,
medieval. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Monster,
Monster
yeah.
claws across the side. Like Red Bull gives me wings. A Red Bull with wings. That's
As
not
like a manuscript looking style.
yeah, but manuscript style versus modern
Uh-huh.
bull artwork. I I don't know if the companies would buy it, but I think we could get that through. I mean, we have a team in Netherlands, and well, they're probably not watching this anyways.
Yeah.
But probably the wrong country. One of those Northlandia countries. The they're the Bonicorns, and I don't know if you know what a Bonicorn is, but it's a bull that shoots fireballs out of its ass.
Oh,
Like, and that's
intense.
an evil monster manuscript thing. So they literally have a bull shitting fireballs out of its ass on their shields. Like that's a thing they're doing. So it's a real thing. You know what I mean? Or like Jocelyn has Rocket Cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as authenticity on things like that, or an individual artist painting someone's shields, how easy is it to get those through?
Well, if it's the whole idea is if it's a historic style, it's okay. Like Lynn, I think Lynn's in your crew, right?
Yeah.
Lynn Redder or something like that. Like I had a chat with her going, hey, by the way, like I was being as polite as I could be. I'm like, hey, please let your customers know that when you're going this full blown fancy like van, this is not derogatory. This is a positive. Full blown fancy van art. The side of the '80s van artwork style. When she's doing that stuff, it's going to fail at higher events. It's going to fail in Europe. It's going to fail at those standards because it's a completely modern paint style. But if she does a medieval paint style, same effort, it's totally fine. So I did my best to chat in a polite way with her to help her understand so she could inform her folks to, like, hey, when you buy this, this may happen to you. Because it sucks to be a vendor and sell a product and the product gets, kicked back.
Yeah.
But most stateside events, not a problem.
Cool.
Like for example, like Dragon Con, we got a guy who has a Witcher logo on his shield. We had a series of duels where it was the different Halo squads. The ODST logo on the bucklers and stuff like that.
Cool.
So the teams were, we had, but those were fun events, and they weren't. Well, they're all fun events, but it's specifically not a Bohurt League event.
Yeah.
Bohurt
International, yeah.
Yeah, Bohurt International now. Yes. So.
And then so going back to the patches and the sponsor side of things, what are current rules on belt flags?
Well, so the only rule on belt flag, you're supposed to have the belt flag with your number on it.
Yeah.
Generically, once again, that was the other route I was considering, was having sponsors allowing, like maybe having our sponsor on a belt flag, which is not this huge display, but is that enough for the sponsor to care?
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
You know what I mean? Like, is the sponsor going to be happy with that?
It's like, why not the shield? It's like,
yeah, like the whole shield, and it's like,
I can
we
see
want
the
our
client
name on it, and it's like, I can't put your name on it. Like, that's never going to get through. Not right now. So one of my thoughts and answers to this is maybe the USA needs an event or two or three where it's a sponsor based event.
Yeah. Like we're all NASCAR. That'd just be.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, I'm not saying this your event in particular, but like an event that would be fantastic to do it at would be, let's say, Arnold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, at
Yeah,
Arnold,
absolutely.
each team shows up as one of the energy drinks that's being one of the vendors at the Arnold.
Yeah. Like rain or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, like there's a Rain, there's a Wolfpack, there's a Celsius, there's a, whatever the one ice cream people are, whatever it is, but they pay the Arnold fighting organization, $1,000 for this team to wear their tabards.
Yeah. They sponsor that per
You know
team
what I
and
mean?
stuff. Yeah.
We buy patches and we sew them on some freaking $25 tabards from renfair.com. We sew a patch on the chest of each one of them, and each team gets, $800 and $200 goes to the event. That,
No brainer. Yeah.
That
it's
seems
simple
like it
stuff.
could help the Arnold quite a bit.
Right. One idea of that.
Yeah.
But we could, that would be an event where that would make sense at. And you'd have the vendors who are already dumping tons of money. Because, I mean, dude, how many energy drinks could you grab a day? At the Arnold?
Flying out.
Yeah. They're just giving them away.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, got at least $100 that weekend worth of free drinks. So it's possible, but like at the international scale, no. At the smaller scale, I absolutely believe we can do some level of sponsorship. And if we give them a couple different venues that they get to have their sponsorship, they're going to be more into it.
Yeah.
I think Monster's going to be more interested in paying so much money for 4 events where they get to have their shit than they are for one event where they get to have their shit.
Do you think if we have consistent success stateside with all these like sponsored events and stuff like that, it would make an impact over on the European side at all?
I absolutely believe money talks. It always has and always will.
All right. So if we just keep warming ourselves up to the situation over in the US, the Europeans will be like, man, we're missing out on all this money, and all we got to do is just give up historical authenticity just for a little bit.
But
sure, I mean, we could do that.
Yeah, I mean, imagine the Team USA goes for free to BLW, the next BLWC. Like the entire team
literally changes the game.
There's going to be opinions. If we all say, "Oh yeah, we're all here because McDonald's paid for everything,"
gold arches.
Yeah, because like this year, for example, McDonald's paid for the majority of the tabards. It was that was Brad Chave was the one who lined up that sponsorship, but the Illinois McDonald's franchise group, they paid $8,000 worth of the $11,000 of tabards for a Team USA this year. So pretty cool stuff. And we didn't have to do anything other than take a few photos. Like we literally just at a tournament made sure we literally used the same McDonald's large cup and just had it like used like in 30 different photos.
Oh,
like
people very prominent
fight and stuff like that. And we just sent it to McDonald's and they were happy. That's all they needed. And that was,
Yeah, that's one of those things too. What like honestly, what is $8,000 to McDonald's?
Right.
Nothing.
For some product placement, yeah, that's fine. That's petty cash.
Right.
Because I've seen like yeah.
I mean that meant every American fighter had to pay $20 for a $200 tabard.
$20.
Small price for McDonald's, but huge for a team of fighters.
Yeah, that never get to spend so much on armor. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we because those tabards were $200 a piece, and I got them for $20 each. So.
Yeah, with that whole McDonald's cup thing, that could really work well with like Red Bull too, because I see a lot of in like esports gaming where they're just drinking an empty can of Red Bull just like this every time the camera cuts to them. It's just something
Yep.
similar we could probably implement as well.
Don't
Yeah.
get me started on the esports route, Alex. That's a whole nother podcast. That's a whole stream right there. About ideas that I have about moving in that kind of a direction.
Well, we got a bunch of different people. We got Andrew Savage trying to hype things in the way he's doing it. You got the idea of the esports thing. We got Come Try LARP going crazy with his Come Try LARP TikToks. Everybody has these different approaches, and everybody has their different opinions on them. And we're going to have to. It'd be nice if we could all talk to each other. And yes, I know we can all talk to each other, but if we could really talk to each other, I'm hating the fact that the sun's out, so I need more light. So I'm trying to fix that and not make me look scary.
Oh, here we go, darkness.
Yeah, like here, but one of these angles was doing it pretty good. There, that's better. But it'd be great if we could get us communicating and comparing notes and willing to do other people's ideas.
Yeah.
That's the weird part, is the willing to do other people's ideas. You have to go, Sorry, because it's so interesting, because you'll be like, hey, someone will give you A, B, C, and D, and you'll be like, yeah, I like A, B, and D, but I don't want to do C. And they go, okay, I'm not doing any of it then.
Yeah.
And it's like,
gotta commit.
Can we try? Like I gave you all but one. Can we please move forward? And they'll be like, no. And okay then. Well,
They're
bye.
like hold out.
Yeah, it's like, well, it'd be one thing if it's a person. So,
but
it'd be great
collaboration. We keep running over each other there. Go ahead.
Sorry, go. You go.
I was just going to say, general collaboration harms no one and helps everyone.
You would think.
Yeah, that's fair. That might be a little idealized.
Yeah, ego.
Ego.
It always boils down to ego or money, right?
I'm pretty sure.
No, I think the sport. Now, this is just I've been doing this for almost 4 years outlook. I've been doing this almost for 10 years outlook. But it seems like we're moving in the right direction. For sure. When it comes to getting into general consciousness of people coming out to see events or being interested in Boohurt. Like you said with the Come Try LARP guys, I was just made aware of their Come Try Steal website, which is fantastic. But outside of just recruiting other fighters, I think the big thing is to grow Boohurt into spectator sport, right?
Right.
And that is a tough sell sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And that's like one of the things we're trying to program into the Boohurt International website as we're building it, is we want to have a fan registration, and we want to have the ability for not only to be a fan to registration, but that fan can be like, Alex is really cool. I want to see Alex fight again. So they click the thing saying they're a fan of Alex. Then when Cade registers for an event and puts Alex on the roster for that event, then all of Alex's fans get an email saying that Alex is going to be at this upcoming event.
Oh, nice.
That would be a really cool system.
But with like a whole team or individuals?
Individualized.
Yeah.
I mean, of course it'd be team. That's the easy one. But if you can do it as a team, you can also do it as individuals. Like that's not any harder. It's just more database. But yeah, that's one of the features we absolutely are aiming at because we think that's going to bring the sport more so than anything else. Because you see a bunch of people go whack each other. You have no idea who they are. You don't care who they are, whatever.
Yeah.
A thing like Andrew Savage was saying to me earlier, and he has a really good point. The fighters need to be out there and introduced without their helmets on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fighters need to you need if you have an audience, the audience needs to see you without your helmet on.
Yeah.
You know, they have to. And then they need to see you with your helmet on. Preferably to see it at the same time. You know, like they watch you put it on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we do some good.
A little bit more cult of personality, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like for example, Josh Waters, he is usually the head marshal at Carnage. That's probably the easiest way for you guys to reference him. But like Josh fights in a black great helm when we do demos usually. And one event, people were yelling and calling him Buckethead. But now he's Buckethead. And in turn, he will run into people in downtown Greenville who be like, "Oh, dude, it's Buckethead." Like, you know what I mean? Like they'll recognize him in normal clothes.
Yeah.
Christine's Rage Squirrel. People see Christine and go, "Oh, Rage Squirrel," you know, etc.
Okay.
You know, and in turn, like Christine has a sticker that she sells at events with our merch. All right. That big sticker, people buy it. There's events where it's sold out. At Dragon Con, we won't even announce her. She'll just take the field and the crowd will start yelling her name.
Oh, sick.
Because we've built that fan base that we have 3,000 people going Rage Squirrel, Rage Squirrel, Rage Squirrel, you know, because they remember her, or, you know, or they remember The Witcher, or they remember whoever, you know, whoever it is.
Oh, yeah.
They have a thing that makes, you know, so you have these things happen. And I think that's our best chance to get it is give us personality. Give us, like, I'm not saying we all need to be WWE psychopaths. I'm not saying that.
Talking into a camera.
Yeah. But,
hey, I'm here for that, man. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Talk smack.
But I absolutely believe we can make stuff happen going down that path.
And that only empowers the fighters too. You know, you get ready to do your fight. People are chanting your name. You're bringing just a little bit more out there than you did.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean that's, dude. Dragon Con is expensive as fuck to go to. Like that's an expensive event. Like that's almost a trip to Europe event. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's pretty rough. And every year, I have more fighters coming into it than I can handle. I have to tell fighters no. You know, and it costs more to go to Dragon Con than it costs anybody to go to Carnage. You know, like I mean, it's crazily expensive. Your flight, well, even if you don't fly, just the con itself being there, the cost of everything. But everybody loves it because when you're doing this, it's 3,000 people in a room screaming your name.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're a rock star in the middle of that list. You know,
that's how that's just how the Ohio Ren is as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, but now confine it in a room, so that roaring's even crazier.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Like, because this isn't Arnold where we're in this huge convention center. This is a room that only we are in. You know, this is a big ass ballroom that's filled to the brim, has two giant big screen TVs, well, jumbotron type things hanging down from the ceiling, broadcasting the fights, and everybody's going nuts. And there's a light show and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, I know the Ohio Ren, you get all that crowd roaring. It's even more intense when you're in an enclosed space.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, it boosts it so much.
Yeah, Dragon Con is one of those events that's on my bucket list wish of events to attend.
You should do it soon, because eventually I'm going to say fuck this and quit
Oh no!
It just happens the same week that Oren kicks off.
Right, I know, and it always will.
Yep.
Oh.
Like it's always going to be Labor Day for both events, I'm sure.
Absolutely. No, there was another little point there. Oh, another thing that has popped in my mind a few times. You've got like the marshals conferences and all of that going on. Helping sport growth. Would it be something worth consider doing announcers conferences?
So yes, but who would teach that?
Yeah, that's fair.
So someone's just got to step up to be the head announcer, or who has
Well,
experience with?
So it's the idea of and Cade, I'm not meaning to be a jerk to you, but like Cade,
No.
when he was announcing the winners at Cincinnati Siege, I was sitting there just going, like, I'm watching him announce it, and I was like, come on, man, you can do better than this. And you were just kind of like, just saying it. Like you didn't have the, and for gold we have next. You were like, and gold winner is, and I'm like, come on, man.
I'll be
Oh,
completely
showmanship
honest,
here.
I was gone at that point.
Well, I know you were gone at that point, but you got to find the way. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, I think that that would help.
Because like
just getting fighters or people that have been in the sport long enough to be able to analyze field, like you're watching a football game, you're watching a soccer game, and to be able to articulate what is going on and have a good enough grasp on who the fighters are on the field to do the call outs as well.
Yeah, well, it's like I don't know if you guys have watched the Carnage live stream from this past time.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So that was Nate Maxfield and Jonathan Holloway. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Holloway is freaking amazing, and Nate Maxfield was learning it. Like he was basically learning. Like Nate knows the fighting and the fighters better, and Jonathan is just this amazing announcer. Like he's extraordinary at it. Gavin Stewart in England, amazing at it. One of the best there is. So you have these extraordinary announcers who I don't think either one of them know how to tell you to be a good announcer.
It's something just inherent with their personality.
And I don't know what Gavin's background is, but like Jonathan, for example, he was he went through the training courses to be like the, for lack of a better word, minor league WWE type guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he went through the whole like the drama announcing stuff courses to be dynamic and boisterous and noisy. But that's what he is. Like that's also part of his personality. Like, he's like, oh, it's showtime? Okay, it's showtime. And he's whipping out all sorts of crazy stuff. And anytime I'm doing anything, I'm imitating Jonathan. Like if you think I'm doing good at announcing, it's because I'm going, this is what Jonathan would do right now. Like that's what's in my brain. Because I used to hate public. Well, I still hate public speaking, but I'm way better at it now.
We're used to it.
Yeah. But I fully agree that would be an amazing course. I just have no idea who would have the time and who'd be willing to teach it, and whether or not they even know how to teach it.
Bruce,
because that's a weird one to quantify.
Right. So, but I would love it. So as soon as you find that guy, we should do it.
Fair enough. I might go down some YouTube rabbit holes.
Right.
But no, I'm looking at the time. It's 9:09. I think that brings us to pretty close to wrap here.
Okay.
Anything else you got? Anything you wanna plug or anything?
Yeah. Anything you want to close out with?
I'm probably going to start the team registration for Carnage next week, maybe this week, to get a good idea of who's coming and who wants to come. And I am still trying to come up with one of the things we're trying to do for Carnage this year, a plan I had, and so far it's failing miserably. Not only because of artwork, but also because of the people it's being made for. Is I was going to try and do some type of T-shirt style fundraiser to help pay for international marshals and competitors to come to the event. The idea is designing something that the marshals are going to be okay with, because we came up with a design. Everybody in the design team thought it was awesome, and then the marshals all complained. So you can't really use. Yeah, we can't use a thing that none of the marshals want. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't work. We gotta,
Looks like Lynn in the chat looks like she'll be willing to help design or
absolutely interested. It sounds like, and so we can definitely definitely chat with her about it. I mean, I loved her Harambe stuff. Like, I love that. That was so good. I love this so much, to be clear, that I almost want to have a branding, like the outer rim going on, like every Mick USA poster or sticker thing has the same outer rim kind of thing, and then the inside is different for each event. Or something like that.
Fantastic.
Kind of like an illuminated manuscript there.
Yeah, but have a standardized brand that this exterior is always the same, and it's the interior that changes up according to what event we're putting on.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
So we maintain this universal brand. I think would be really, really neat. So she's buying into this. So
cool.
And
also,
stop raising your hand. It's a bad idea. So anyway, go ahead.
And also, did you have any closing comments that you wanted the audience to remember about authenticity, just as going through and ending the
absolutely
discussion
not
tonight?
Absolutely
okay. All right.
No. I mean, it's understand. The reality is, the people who do work authenticity they've probably heard your question 1,000 times. So when they just look at you, you're like, no, like it's because they don't know what else to say anymore. They've lost the will to, you know what I mean?
Will to elaborate anymore.
Yeah, because they're just they're like, I'm going to say something to you, and then you're going to rage at me some more. You know what I mean? You're going to yell at me. Come at them with politeness, and then they're going to work and help you as best they can. When you come at them demanding and being mad and argumentative, or when you ask questions in weird ways, like, for example, when you ask so what kind of designs can we get away with Eastern helmets with da-da-da-da-da? You're loaded for something. And like, if this wasn't this chat, if it was a PM or on Facebook in public, either version, doesn't matter, I would say, okay, what do you want?
Yeah, just come out with it, spit it out.
Like, I don't care about your theoretical. I can't answer theoretical. I can answer, you're asking if you can have a dick butt pin on your forehead. No. You know what I mean? Can you have a bag of dicks on your forehead? Yeah, actually you can. There's that whole
noted.
Yeah.
So be forthright. Don't try to weasel your answer out, because even if you weasel it and get them to agree to you in a different path, they will turn around and still tell you no anyways. Like, but you said yellow was okay. I'm like, well, we didn't mean yellow that way, so fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna. There's no point. Don't play games. Be direct, because in the end they get to say no anyways. So why try to sneak around the back? Story of Dick Butt, for reference, Team USA always liked to wear oaths of the moment or purity seals when we went to fight at Baden.
Yeah.
And the one year, the authenticity was like, no, no more of the purity seals. We can't be having that, And I get it; it doesn't belong. I understand their logic, and I didn't disagree with them. In turn, though, I was like, hey, listen, if I wear a dick butt pin on my armor out on the field fighting, can we have the authenticity seals? And they were like, yeah. I was like, okay, cool. And I went and bought like a 3-inch dick butt pin and wore it. And they were like, we thought you were joking. And I'm like, I wasn't.
That'll be our authenticity stickers for our next siege.
Well, I mean, literally back in the earlier days when I would have to make an announcement that was an authenticity announcement, I would have a little meme of a big dick hat, like I'm putting the dick head on, before I have to talk. So, but either way, all good. Hopefully, it was a good combo. Hopefully,
Yeah.
It was. Thank you for letting us pick your brain. I actually learned a lot talking to you.
Cool. I don't want to do this all the time, but I don't mind doing this on a regular basis if this is something you guys want to do. So
Absolutely.
All
I
right.
think it was beneficial not just for us, but for everybody that tuned in. A lot of good questions got answered, and I'm sure that I'll be in touch with you as I see new stuff come out from Booherd International. I'll go, yep, time to have Larry back.
yeah, all for it, man.
That needs to be talked about. Let's figure it out.
Yep, all for it, guys. So
Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for everybody
Yeah.
that tuned in, and we will be back next week.